What's up, DC Days? Back into the Justice League comic review, and guys, today we're checking out issue number 50. Now, this is supposed to be an anniversary issue, right? And like a special issue, because it's 50 issues into a big series, right? The series that started with Scott Snyder, then we went to Robert Venditti, and now we have Simon Spurrier. It's been a pretty great series, but this storyline has not. Alright, this storyline, written by Simon Spurrier, with the whole troughs, the whole factions, like the Cell and Spark, I have not been enjoying, alright? And you guys know that, because in my reviews, I've been saying that it's kind of generic, it's not really cool. Just seeing the Justice League go to another homeworld and fight off against a trough and stuff, instead of fighting off against villains we actually know, or come up with a new villain that fits like the series. No, this just feels like quick story that they just wrap together, and the art by like Aaron Lopresti just looks rushed, alright? And I don't blame him. When Aaron Lopresti has the time to actually draw out his artwork, make it look good, it's really good. But when he's rushed at like a 2-week schedule, right? And all these comics are coming out, especially when this one is extra sized, like it's longer than usual, you can't expect the guy to just put out perfect work, right? So I'm not surprised that his artwork looks rushed in this issue, and the writing by Simon Spurrier is not that great either. But I'm still going to tell you guys about the story, and if you like it, tell me, alright? Guys, tell in the comments section below after I explain the story if you like this, alright? If you like the conclusion to the storyline, and actually rate the storyline, this 3-part storyline, from 1 to 10, alright? I'll give my rating for this issue by the end of the video, but for now, let's dive into the issue. Now guys, first off, we actually pick up where we left off last issue with the Justice League fighting off against the Vermilion forces, all these ships and stuff. But then Superman is shot by a blast from one of the ships, and he's like, man, that actually kind of hurt. And we see like an observation ship that's just like, checking out the fight, and they get away, right? They took down all the ships except for a couple. And Wonder Woman's like, wait, should we take down that one? Superman's like, no, just let it go. It won't do anything wrong. And Flashlight, they get back to the Vermilion and tell them about pretty much the blast actually hurt Superman, hurt the Justice League. They'll come back with more forces that are set up to beat the Justice League. So Flash is like, should we take him down? Superman's like, no. Don't worry about it. We have to go back to the troughs and pretty much check up on him. Now they get back there, and that's when they see society, and they're all giving them like dirty looks. And they hear on like a broadcast pretty much the same thing that they said last issue. We like destroying things more than actually managing it. And Flash is like, uh-oh, we didn't do a great job with this. And that's when pretty much Green Lantern and Flash both ask, like, wait, who recorded us fighting up there? And Batman's like, yeah, it was my idea, alright? It was my idea to record this. And they're like, why? And Batman's like, I want to show this alien species all of us in fighting in action, right? Show them the Justice League, the rulers in action, and inspire them to do better. And Flash's like, yeah, kind of makes sense. And Batman's like, but that didn't turn out. You guys were just talking, and you were talking about how you want to destroy stuff more than you actually want to manage ruling a whole alien species, and that's not good. And Batman continues to say that good strategies win wars, but good optics win minds. And that's actually something that the Empress, the evil Empress, used to say. And one of them's like, what did you just say? Like, are you okay, Batman? And Batman's like, yeah, I'm fine. But this species, this alien species, needs to have rulers that they know that would help them. Like, we need to secure this peace. And Flash's like, okay, I can agree with that, but that's what Batman's like, I got a way to fix this. Let's use the mind-controlling devices that the Empress had to pretty much take over this whole species and rule. And one of them's like, what? Are you serious? And Batman's like, yes, I am serious. And I think we should make them fight too. Pretty much give them some tough love. Have these species fight off, and then realize whoever's left, that they have to work together to have a good pretty much culture. And one was like, that's not the right thing to do, that's not us. And Flash's like, yeah, that's not us. We don't control people. That's not ethical. We don't actually just control people, make them fight against each other. And Batman's like, well, that's the only way we're gonna do this. We have to take the hard way, or we should just quit as rulers. Now, Flash is like, wait, are you sure you're okay? And Batman's like, I have some stuff to go handle, so I'm gonna go away. And he's touching his head, and he's kind of having a headache, right? And that's when Flash tells Wonder Woman, and he's like, wait, is it me, or is Batman more serious than he usually is? Or like more darker? And Wonder Woman's like, well, something's wrong with him. And that's when we see Wonder Woman go back into pretty much the city, and she goes to these two different, to this one place, and she arrives at like this one kid in the society, and he actually is a part of a different, one of the factions now. He's a part of the Cell, and that's pretty good. They're talking, and Wonder Woman's like, hey, do you have any like pretty pretty much rituals, like try to figure out this alien culture. So yeah, I can help you out. But that's when the other kid, is pretty much wondering throughout this whole 3-issue story arc, has been interacting with these two kids, trying to figure out about the alien culture. And they were best friends. They both want a better world. But that's when we see this other kid show up, and he's now joined the Spark. So both of them are on different factions, and one of them's like, okay, you guys could tell me? I'm like, no, I don't want to be here when you are here. Pretty much, the one who's a part of the Spark doesn't want to be in the same place as the one that's in a part of the Cell. So now they're divided. They just went from being best friends to being against each other. One was like, no, don't act like this. And that's when she goes to meet up with Batman, right? And she's like, hey, we gotta figure out how to pretty much take control of this whole society. Like, they're not doing so well. They're fighting out against each other to pretty much make it peaceful. And Batman's like, yeah, we can do that, but we have to pretty much discredit your fuzzy values about pretty much a moral code, about ethics. Like, we can't just, not use the mind-controlling devices. We have to push past that, and we have to go hard on them. We have to give them tough love and see who's left. And one was like, what? No, that's not what I want. And she's like, this is not the right thing to do. And Batman's like, well, you told me a story about the one ruler, and the whole thing you told me was that good intentions does not make a good ruler. Actually, the people take over that ruler. We need to do bad intentions. And one of them's like, no, that's not right. And Batman's like, hey, you do whatever you do, I'm gonna go do what I want to do. And that's when one of them's like, but there's always hope. You have to join us, Batman. And Batman's like, hope? Are you talking about Superman's whole mission to go pretty much talk peace with the other enemy? And that's when we shift to pretty much Superman, John Stewart, and Flash go into this Vermilion ship. And they show up, right? And they show up with these two delegates. One delegate from the Spark faction, and one delegate from the Cell faction. Now they get there, they get inside the ship, and you see they get blasted immediately. Superman's like, we want peace. And Flash is like, we come in peace. And he's actually running, taking away the guns. It's actually not a bad scene. I actually really like this one because the action. But they get there, and there's these different, the species that they look like, the Vermilion, they have like brain, they have a weird look, alright? And Superman's like, wait, why are you still attacking, right? And Vermilion's like, you guys are enemies, we're in war. And Flash's like, wait, you're not in war? And that's when the delegates from each faction pretty much explains to Flash that the Vermilion, they always know the result of things, but they can't remember how they got there. So that's when Flash explains to the Vermilion that, hey, no, you're not in war anymore. The reason you went to war was because of the Empress, but she's gone. She's done. The whole dictator, she's gone, and now we have these two different factions that actually want peace with you. And the Vermilion's like, explain. And that's when Flash gets the two delegates, run him up, and he's like, okay, your turn. And that's when we see these two delegates talking. They're like, hey, we decided to join together. We want peace. We want unity. And this Vermilion's like, okay, that's all good, but still, we want to kill you. And that's when they keep blasting. They actually almost kill the delegates, but Flash runs them out of there, and Superman then flies them out of there, and that didn't go so well. That's when Batman calls in all the Justice League to like a meet. It's like, hey, I've been having cameras all over this whole situation we've been having with the Vermilion and the Troughs. And he's like, I have one thing to say. We're doing this all wrong. He's like, we're screwing up. And Batman says, he's like, we tried to pretty much take this with no violence. We tried to get these factions together. We tried to pretty much make peace. It's either we take the hard way or we just quit as rulers. And one was like, no, we can't do that. Batman's like, enough of your fuzzy values. He's like, no. Who cares about your ethics? And you're like thinking, like as a reader, like, wait, Batman doesn't care about ethics? Like, this don't make that much sense, right? And Batman actually explains also that, hey, while we're doing all this trying to rule this society, what about Earth? What about Gotham? What's happening there? And that's actually a question I have. So they're in this other world helping out this alien species, but all the Justice League, I get there's heroes on Earth and stuff. There's always people that back up cities. Like, you got Nightwing. Well, you have Nightwing and Bloodhaven, but you always have like another Robin. You got Tim Drake protecting Gotham City. But still, with all these heroes gone, is it really important for them to be in this whole world than be in Gotham or be in Metropolis? All these different places in Earth that are probably getting attacked by villains. Like, if I was a villain right now, I'm like, man, the Justice League are off-world. I should take over. Like, this is the best time to do that. And that's actually a good question that Batman brings up. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of like, it's like Simon Spurrier addressing like a plot hole. It's like, yeah, I know that the Justice League are on this other world, and technically their cities could be attacked, but Batman knows about this. Don't worry, we know about it. And I'm like, that's not the best writing, or like, come on. I'm not saying that the Justice League can't go off-world and do other things, but I just don't feel like this whole conflict with the Trough is really worth it. Like, they should just got there, took out the Empress, and left. Don't be rulers. Like, come on, why are they being rulers? Like, there's really, like, I get he's trying to push this whole narrative in this whole storyline, you know, what Simon Spurrier is trying to say. But if the Justice League are doing that, would they really stay? Like, at the beginning of the storyline, when Superman's like, hey, we should be rulers, and Wonder Woman's like, no, like, we shouldn't. Like, I agree with Wonder Woman. Go back to Earth, protect your world. Like, yeah, it's good to protect the galaxy, protect the universe, but come on, you can't be everywhere at once, especially when you have all these different Justice League members just being there and screwing up the whole situation. Like, it doesn't really make that much sense. We guys continue on the storyline. We have Batman saying this. Wonder Woman's like, no, we can't do this. And Batman starts walking away. Wonder Woman goes after him, and you see his guns come up to shoot her. And Batman's like, yeah, I forgot to tell you that I pretty much enabled this whole place. If you try to go against me, go after me, it'll take you down. And Flash's like, Bruce, what the heck is wrong with you? And Batman's like, well, pretty much there's nothing wrong with me. And Wonder Woman's looking at him like, something's wrong with you. You're being mind controlled. Now we see a shift, and Wonder Woman actually goes to meet up with one of the kids, right? The one that's a part of the Spark, right? And she goes with them to this whole society, the one faction. They all give her dirty looks. They don't like her, and they're talking. But that's when the other kid shows up from the whole Cell tribe, and automatically they both look at each other bad. The kid from the Spark tribe and the kid from the Cell tribe just walk away. They're like, sorry, Wonder Woman, but we're more busy. We don't want to be in the same place as each other. And Wonder Woman looks at this and she's like, man, I gotta fix this. I gotta make them pretty much unite together. Now we shift and we see that the Vermilion are attacking again, attacking the Trops. They're coming. The invasion is here. And we see all the different factions come to the Justice League and like, Your Majesties. And Superman's like, don't call us that. And they're like, the invasion is here. And Superman's like, okay, we gotta go do this. You gotta go take down these ships. And Wonder Woman's like, no, you guys can go do that, but I'm gonna try to sell this war without my sword. Now we see her go, and she actually meets up with these two kids. She actually calls both of them to the same place, and they show up, they're like, why'd you call both of us here? We don't want to be in the same place as each other. Now we see Wonder Woman, she's explained to these different kids, she's like, you both want a better world, and you both didn't want this whole faction thing, like this separation. And they're like, no, we're leaving. She's like, enough. Get over here, let's talk about this, because we united, we can actually take down the Vermilion and establish peace in this whole world. We see Justice League 5 gets all these ships, and they're having problems. Like, man, they're like, Flash actually says, like, man, like, by the time we get all this done, the Trops will actually be invaded and they'll all be dead. And Green Lantern's like, yeah, we gotta do this faster. That's when we see all the ships take out each other, and they're like, what? Who's shooting? And we see Batman is like, yeah, I actually took control of the situation. Flash's like, you're not using my control, are you? And Batman's like, no, negative, I'm not doing that. Actually, what I'm doing is actually enable their sensors to think they're all in the same faction, so they attack each other. And Flash's like, that's not really ethical, Batman. And Batman's like, there's no point in being ethical here. We just gotta pretty much take care of the situation. Now, we saw this going down, and Wonder Woman's like, hey, Justice League, call in. We gotta talk about this quick. Like, the Empress is doing something. I don't know what she's doing, but she's doing something bad. And somebody's actually watching Wonder Woman talk to Justice League, and they don't know who she's actually talking to. They're like, wait, who's she talking to? Well, it doesn't matter. It's time. She's alone. Let's go take care of this. We see Wonder Woman walking through the stage. She's walking through like this hallway or so. That's when she's attacked by Batman. Batman's like, the Justice League can't hear you. And Wonder Woman's like, what are you doing, Batman? And he's like, it's time to take care of you. You're going against the plan. You're going against Empress Sidinx. That's her name, right? The whole Empress. And that's what Batman gets one of the mind-controlling devices and puts down Wonder Woman. And Wonder Woman's like, don't do this. And she gets control. And Batman's like, there's no peace. There's no Justice League, there's only Sidinx. And that's when we see pretty much the Empress. She shows up with two different delegates, the same delegates from each faction, from the Cell and the whole Spark, right? They're pretty much like the right-hand people of Sidinx. And she goes up and she has Bruce and Dinah, you know, Wonder Woman and Batman. They're on their knees, they're actually pretty much praising her away. And they're controlled, right? They can't do anything about it. And Sidinx is like, oh, I finally made it. And she actually broadcasts throughout the entire society about saying, she actually has her delegates, like the one from the Spark and the Cell, saying how the Justice are bad, they're evil, they're warlords, and they pretty much put this saying in the society that don't trust the Justice League. Trust Empress Sidinx. So she's slowly claiming back her throne and taking over, right? So she goes actually out to a rally, and you see all these different, the whole society actually out in the whole audience, right? and she's saying the Justice League is taking over. These alien rulers, outsiders, are taking over our society. We need to take back control. But I will only become your ruler again if you beg me. And we see her just screaming. She's outside, and you can see that Empress Sidnix, she's actually a person that can take control of everybody. She's the type of leader that she can actually make you think that, oh, she has good intentions, but she doesn't. We see all these aliens pretty much saying, oh yeah, we beg, please come back. And Empress is like, alright then. So what we'll do is mind control every third person in the society and take control of you again. Empress Sidnix is like, yeah, alright, you want me back? I'll take control of society, take control of you, and it'll just go by all my methods. And she actually goes up to Wonder Woman and she's like, you told me a tale while I was in prison about a ruler. Let me tell you a tale about how I created all this, how I orchestrated this whole thing to take you down. What she says, that pretty much her ancestors been ruling this whole species for millennia, taking control through war. So Empress Sidnix is like, okay, we gotta do war to better the situation. And she's saying this, she's like, oh, I took over, you justly, your alien conquerors, helped me out. And she's just going on this whole villain monologue, right? But she gets taken down, obviously. It turns out that Wonder Woman and Batman were actually not controlled. They actually went along with the plan this entire time. That looked like they were controlled, looked like they were bad leaders. So they got to get the Empress Sidnix to reveal her plan and then take her down, right? And we see Wonder Woman explain this, actually explains her whole plan, right? And that's when Batman, Wonder Woman take her down and they actually expose throughout the whole society about Empress Sidnix talking, pretty much calling the aliens fools, saying she's gonna mind control them, and the society goes against this. And we see both the factions just fight off against each other. So now they're back in Civil War. That's when Flash, the rest of the Justice League show up and they're like, Wonder Woman, why'd you not tell us about this? And Bruce then says, we had to make sure that you believed in the whole situation, that I was maybe evil, that Wonder Woman was trying to make this all better, because if you guys knew in on it, you would not went with it, and then Empress Sidnix would have found out, and that would have pretty much destroyed the whole plan. Now that's when Bounce says to Wonder Woman that, hey, we're still with the plan with 0 leaders, and you told me about that one story, about that whole myth. What would that ruler do? What do we do next? And Wonder Woman then says, oh yeah, that one story about that myth, that one Amazon myth, that old ruler, yeah, I made that up, alright? That was fake. And Batman's like, what? You made that up? And Wonder Woman's like, yeah, I made that up to pretty much go along with the plan. She's like, yeah, I wanted the Empress to actually believe in that story, to think that we're actually going with it. And Batman's like, okay, that makes sense. But that's when Batman's like, so what do we do? And Wonder Woman's like, okay, let me try to finish the story for you. That what she's trying to say is that the whole, like, a ruler should try to quit being a ruler. Let the society do what they want, but still establish like certain boundaries, but keep it going right? Like, it shouldn't just be like, oh, civil war, or just a chaos, but it shouldn't be like, oh, taking control of them. People should still have their freedom. And she also says that when the rulers leave, they should leave certain people in charge that will rule the society the way that we would. And that's when Wonder Woman actually leaves the 2 kids in charge to take over, because they actually see the value in the society, how to pretty much grow it. And Wonder Woman then says that what we realized after all, through all this stuff, is that heroes lead by example. So that's the whole thing. Like, the whole thing in this whole entire story arc, what Simon Spurrier was trying to sell, is that yeah, heroes can be rulers, heroes can be warriors, but what they really need to do is lead by example. Because they can do practically anything, but they don't lead by example, then they're not doing a great job. Now this whole storyline, I don't care. I don't care about the storyline, because this whole conclusion, whatever. Like, Empress Sidnix, not a great villain. The whole factions thing was interesting at first, but honestly, don't really care about it anymore. The whole thing with the Spark and the Cell, the old troughs, and all the Justice League members in this issue, they had some great lines. Like, I like Batman and Wonder Woman, but other than that, all the other Justice League members just felt like they were lost. Like, they were lost in this situation. At the end, they're like, okay, it makes sense, we're just going along with the plan. And I'm like, really? Okay. And by the way, Empress Sidnix was taken down way too easily. Like, she went through the whole villain monologue, which is so, like, typical, you know, and just to just, like, take him down so quickly. It didn't really feel like there's suspense at all. Like, I kind of saw it coming. Like, how she's going on that whole monologue, I'm like, really? She's just gonna be taken down, right? And she was. So yeah, guys, overall, this storyline, it was just filler, alright? It was pure filler. And I hope Justice League gets out of this. I want Justice League to get back to a book that I get excited for. Not a book that I kind of dread, like, reviewing. Like, I didn't enjoy really reviewing this issue. I was kind of not really looking forward to it. But I did, because I wanted to tell you guys my thoughts on it, And I just want to say that I hope Justice League returns to when Scott Snyder was writing it. Or even Robert Venditti. Like, Robert Venditti actually didn't do a bad job, but Scott Snyder was the best one. I hope it returns to that point. Like, it doesn't have to be a game-changing event that's gonna change the whole entire universe. But do something that, like, do a storyline that I'll get excited about. Not a storyline that's kind of boring and has, like, a generic conclusion. But yeah, guys, overall, I'm gonna give this issue 5 out of 10. I don't recommend it. Like, it's really forgettable. Like, it's not terrible, right? It's not terrible art, but the artwork is rushed and the writing is generic, and it's just forgettable overall, and I don't recommend it. But yeah, guys, in the comments below, tell me what you thought about this storyline. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What was your favorite part? What was your least favorite part? And do you agree with me that you wish that Justice League can get back to a point that's exciting? Now I'm excited to read this book. Not that, oh, it's just another filler issue or another filler storyline. And guys, I think it'll get back to what we like. Maybe next storyline, I hope, or like we know for sure it'll get back to greatness in the Dark Knight's Death Metal tie-ins. I hope. But yeah, guys, like the video, give a big thumbs up. You shall make subscribe to my next Justice League comic review. I'm gonna keep reviewing the series because I like Justice League and I liked the series before. Even when the series is not doing good, I'm gonna still review it because they're a big team, and I just want to keep you guys up to date on this series when it's doing good and when it's doing bad. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching and peace out.